It is Monday. RawMikeRichards.com, broadcasting live from the DKI studios in downtown Toronto, out of the Pacific Junction Hotel, the Big Smoke. Coming up today, tons of NFL and CFL action. Were you a winner? I wasn't. Dave was 4-1, and roast beef did well. His happy endings. Ooh. Oh. Mama said. Mama said. Are you happy in Toronto? Going to a Grey Cup against the Calgary Stampeders. Consistently over the last 4 or 5 years, the best team in the country, yes, whether they won it or not. So, should be an interesting one in Ottawa. I'm hoping for a great game.
The CFL's equivalent to the New England Patriots, the Calgary Stampeders.
That's I guess you would. Yeah, in terms of consistency, yes. Someone's gonna say, "Oh yeah, Ben, you think that they could beat the New England Patriots?" Yeah, that's what he just said. He thinks the Calgary Stampeders would beat the New England Patriots.
That's a pretty good impression of me. Oh no, of them. Wait.
Yeah, wait. What's going on? By the way, New England Patriots. Just give them the trophy now.
Yep.
I don't even think this is even close. In week after week of some really poorly played football, a lot of it self-inflicted. Yeah, Buffalo Bills, I'm probably talking to you. What about Peterman? Yes, Peterman will be a fantastic. What? The best chance you had of even winning the game? Like, I don't get that organization at all. Maybe they're run by Bell. Also, boy, what an exciting time to be a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. Right, roast beef? Yeah, you must have had yourself quite a time.
Oh yeah.
Oh, let's go to the Russ Cam. It's not even set up.
Hey, wow. Russ Cam.
Not even trying on a Monday.
It's
terrible.
This is.
So tell us, six Cobb.
It was a pretty fun Saturday night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy to see Matthews back. Played well. Freddie.
Who wasn't?
Yeah.
Freddie played well.
Oh, Freddie now. Freddie.
33 save shutout.
Yeah.
Stopped about his last 70 or so shots.
Can't be Andersuck anymore.
He's in for a rude awakening against the Coyotes tonight. Well,
ooh.
Ah, shoot.
So, do you think they cover on themselves if it's if the total's 6? Do the Leafs cover that tonight?
Sure they can.
Yeah.
More than capable of doing it against the world's worst team.
Because you realize when you take a look at those numbers and as they look at the trends, the Leafs, I don't think, are ever going to be, in any game they play, a 5.5. It's always going to be 6. And you might. Could they do a 6.5? Because that's just mean.
That is mean.
But that's an interesting number.
I like the Leaside Falcons to beat the Arizona Coyotes in a one-off.
Really, the Falcons in Leaside.
Yeah. I might be making up that name.
I don't know, but I kind of like it. Might be the Leaside Yossers. Yes. The Leaside get off my lawn.
Quite.
People. What I'm telling you, this is going to be a massacre tonight. And it's even more special because I understand on Rogers Sportsnet, is it Rogers Sportsnet that's doing this? This big...
the Austin Matthews Festival.
Oh.
I am Austin Matthews. Tonight after
That's not what they're calling it. They're not calling it that.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. I am Austin Matthews with Stephen Brunt. And apparently this is... Steven spent some time with Austin and his family in Arizona in the off-season, and it's a very candid, open look at Austin Matthews, and apparently, and no surprise because it is Stephen Brunt.
Yeah.
We're talking
really
about the pro's pro.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be very good, and I will be watching this for sure.
You know, I since we've started this, I haven't reached out to him, but considering we're friends with Rogers. Rogers are our friend.
Hey, buddy.
I'm gonna contact Steve. Won't come in here.
Sure he will. And you know what? Just like with Scott Morrison, just like with Dan Rosen, it's going to be a phenomenal half hour plus.
Yeah.
Whatever it works out to.
No, Steven's a full show.
Stay as much as you want.
Tomorrow, along the same kind of lines, always fascinating.
Yes, there's another version.
Yeah. Bruce Dobigan going to join
like
us. Going to be in studio tomorrow, all the way from Calgary. What if they play this music behind? This is our Austin Matthews music. Is that wrong?
I think it's okay.
I think it's good.
I think we're fine with it.
I think it's good.
Yep.
But for the Montreal Canadiens, at what point do you say, okay,
Tap, tap.
Yeah. And then and if you're tapping, which in French I assume, I mean it's a sound, right?
Le tap.
Tip, tip.
Yep.
That
we got a bilingual show. There's
we
not
do.
too many
It's
out
there's what can we not do? When do you start looking at carry price, whatever you think you can get, something for? I mean, look, now you got to get to a point where being in the middle is going to be no good.
Nope.
And maybe that's even a push saying that they are a middle or mid-table team, if you want to put it that way. When do you start getting rid of something that other teams want? Will give you some assets, will give you some draft picks, will give you something for your cupboard. When do you start making that decision? Because if I'm them, I'm doing it before Christmas.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's going to happen before Christmas, Mike, but I think it should have happened already, to tell you the honest truth, because they have to figure out, you know what, you have a major piece that is going to contradict everything that you're supposed to be doing. You know what, it's funny because we were talking not too long ago as the Montreal Canadiens is one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and now we're talking about the Montreal Canadiens, one of the worst teams in the conference, and it just boom.
There's your problem when your best player is your goalie. That's only going to get you so far. You might have a couple of miracle seasons where everyone sort of bands together, they grind you down, you win a bunch of 2-1, 1-0 games. You cannot play 82 games season after season where that is your recipe to win. I mean, I think it's relatively obvious. How they let it get this far is beyond me. And let's face it, in terms of organizations, in terms of resumes on a level of excellence, the Montreal Canadiens have been, that's why it's a shrine, that's why it's basically a religion for those who follow les habitants. And now it is merde. Yeah.
Ooh, that's another good word.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, absolutely. But don't you think at some point, like if can you name four players on that roster right now?
Yeah.
That if you put them up there for bidding, that you're going to receive something that that you desperately need coming back the other way. And what we're talking about, draft picks and prospects. That's what you have to be looking at. Are there four players on that roster that get you that? Or is it less than four?
Prospects, said Bill Miner. There's old school.
Here's a little Stephen Rapp for you on a Monday.
I would say if you're looking at the actual roster itself and you're kind of breaking down, when you're selling assets, Max Pacioretty will get you something because American winger, American forward, can play on a top six on most teams. There is ability to receive back more than one or two things.
Right.
Carey Price by far is the gold.
The biggest
mine of
piece
the
they
group.
have.
Yes.
Yep.
But after that, then you have to start looking at, have you given up on Alex Galchenyuk? Some people say yes, some people say no. This is a third overall draft pick not too long ago in the first round. And the Canadiens' problem is they haven't quite figured out, is the guy a center or a winger? Clearly the guy was a center, but they've kind of screwed him by putting him on the wing and then moving him back, moving him first line, moving him fourth line. But I think there's value there in Alex Galchenyuk.
So Galchenyuk, another team who could use him as we're going to say, is he a first-line center?
No, he's not.
Second-line center?
On most teams right now, because he is still a project, I would say that it would be best to put him as a third-line center for now.
So you're probably not going to get that much coming back the other way.
Well, there's also a value in it because he's so young.
Right.
That's the only thing, because you're almost like, okay, if we could refurbish this young, talented prospect that should be still considered that, he still has another 10, 12 years left in his pro career. At least that's the hope. Other than that, Mike, you know what? Jonathan Drouin is a major piece, but I don't know if you're getting rid of something like that. I'm surprised they still have a Thomas Plekanec, to tell you the truth, because they tried dumping him to Vegas, but Vegas wouldn't bite. He was actually part of the expansion roster, but Vegas wouldn't want to take on $6 million plus. And then when you look at their defense, there's Shea Weber and his, 75-year contract.
I just can't see anyone seeing the value at that age with that price tag and that term. Forget it. I don't see it. They're stuck with him now.
And then when you're looking at guys like Victor Métis and Joe Morrow and guys like that, that's a lot of youth you don't want to get rid of. Jeff Petrie is a good defenseman, but is a heavy financial price tag. Carl Alsner is a crappy contract that the Canadians decided to sign in the offseason. A Brandon Gallagher might be one of those younger versions of an Alex Burrows that probably shouldn't cost a lot. But, I mean, there is pieces there to move, but if you're going to do it properly in Montreal, they should just look what they did here on Bay Street.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
And pull out the blueprint and say, okay.
And this isn't showing necessarily that Toronto lovers, Leaf lovers, that's that guy in a corner.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is,
I'm against that, actually.
If I've ever seen a franchise do it the right way from the start to where they are, it's the Leafs. Toronto has done it in such a way that I don't know what person could come in, whether we talk to them on the air or an insider, and saying, so what have they done poorly? Where have the Leafs as an organization messed up? I just don't think they have.
No, they haven't.
I think they've done a great job.
They've made so many smart decisions. I think the next step for the Maple Leafs is basically figuring out how they're going to manage their cap and how they're going to sign, 3-4 young players to mega deals, to tell you the honest truth, because guys like Mitch Marner, he's going to make good money. William Nylander is going to make good money. Austin Matthews is going to make both of them combined.
Is Austin Matthews going to be one of these guys that conceptually you would see them as a lifer, which is not very common on any team these days in any sport, especially hockey.
They're going to try their best.
But that's he's in that category. Correct?
I'll go on record.
Like Connor McDavid is to Edmonton.
Yeah, I'll go on record right now saying that when that Austin Matthews deal gets signed, it's more than Connor McDavid. That's telling you something right there.
But it's money that you have to spend.
Yeah. And I'm not saying he's a better player than Connor McDavid. I'm just saying because of
to the Leafs.
When he'll sign it, it will be more than Connor McDavid. And that's just the way things work, right, Mike? If you sign your deal in 2010 and the next guy that's close to your ability in 2013, well, you're going to make more. You're not going to, you know what I mean? That's just the way it works. Yeah, so
that's how it's going to be.
William Nylander is going to make some good cake. Mitch Marner is going to make some good cake. And then guys like Tyler Bozak, Leo Komarov, they will no longer be part of this organization. There's only so much in the kitty for these
JVR
guys.
In that category?
I sure hope not, but you know what? He's going to make more money elsewhere.
Sure he is.
I mean, there's the hope that JVR sits there and says, you know what? I've been here for a while. I like the surroundings. I've seen the ultimate bad, and now I'm looking at the ultimate good.
He could win something here.
Yeah, I see a guy like Patrick Marleau, who's way older than I am, decide that he was going to pack up his belongings, his family, his life for 20 years and move up north to Toronto because he sees something. How the hell can't I see something? I've been here when there's been garbage playing beside me.
Yeah, look, they've all made decent money. JVR's had some pretty good contracts.
Yes.
So when we say taking a haircut, it's not like the haircut that I don't know I've taken over the last 18 months. That's scalping. That's what that is. That's where'd it go? I had this huge flow, and now I'm curly from the Three Stooges. That's the haircut I got.
The two of us go to the local lawnmower and
oh yeah, going by the soup kitchens. I'm going, geez, some of that looks good. Are they cream soups? Move it along, pal. But at some point, as I said, I used to say it was going to be a Leaf Edmonton final at some point. Hello, Edmonton.
Yeah, Edmonton might want to pick up their side of the bargain.
What's going on with them?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
like, there's
know.
no reason for this car to be like on the side of the road. If we're looking at if they're both automobiles and you see the nice shiny one in Toronto, I just assumed you had the equal version. In Edmonton, it's also a nice big engine, the spoilers, the beautiful, and all of a sudden it's on the side of the road and there's guys out there with like a jack and people are looking under the hood, and I don't know if they know how to fix it. What? How'd that happen?
It's weird. As much as we make fun of the Arizona Coyotes, the Edmonton Oilers only have 5 more points than the Coyotes.
That's brutal.
Yeah. Man, Connor McDavid could beat the Coyotes by himself. So that's what I don't understand. It's like 1 on 5. Go. Drop the puck.
Well, let's take before we get to the NFL, I just want to say that, we sort of hoped that in Toronto there'd be a good crowd. And for Toronto at BMO Field, it was. It was some great atmosphere. It was nice to see for a change. It was a nice reward for the players. And that ending to that game was, I got to be honest, looking at some of the crap that was in the NFL this weekend, and it was garbage. Look, a couple of games that were, that ended up being crazy, but for the most part, I thought the Argo game had an unbelievable finish, and courtesy of TSN, this is the property of the Canadian Football League. What an ending, including a moment where I thought after the Argos had that 17-3 lead, and then this next play, I thought sealed their fate. I thought they were finished.
Before the 3-minute warning. Big kick. Jones looks for a big return. He might have one here. Look out! He is gone! He's going to score! Touchdown! Christian Jones! Oh my goodness! What a romp!
That was shocking. I mean, that was just unbelievable. But then Ricky Ray, who's done this many, many times before, he's got, look, for Ricky Ray, he's got a bunch of time. He's got like 2 minutes to figure this thing out, or give or take. And you just didn't know at this point, does he still have the ability to bring the Argos back? Because now it's just do or die. And that last couple of minutes, I believe it was a 67-yard drive by Ricky Ray with some incredible catches at key times.
For game-winning drives, Ricky Ray. More than any other active quarterback. Ray. Did he deliver? Yes, he did, they said. DeVere Posey makes the catch on the far sideline. Biggest play of the ballgame.
Huge.
Ray looks, throws it up, and it's caught! It's caught!
Oh, beauties.
James Wilder hauls it in.
See,
Hold on.
this is crazy.
Shotgun changes it. Jefferson almost jumped.
Here it comes.
Ray looking over the top. It's caught down to the one. Armani Edwards on the threshold of the end zone.
Fajardo.
Again.
Sneak.
Calls his own number and scores the touchdown.
And there it is. That was, and I'll tell you what, it was great to see that enthusiasm, the noise. Look, there was a ton of green because there's a ton of green everywhere.
There
it
is,
it really doesn't matter. They travel well. And
They could play that game in the Yukon and there'd be Rider
and
fans.
there'd still be Rider fans everywhere.
Hate those people.
I ran into Rider fans in Paris, not Paris, Ontario. Paris, France. Riders! I'm like, what? Les Raiders. It doesn't matter. I mean, look, they're a great fan base, but I was thrilled for the Argos. They're going to Ottawa, Dave, and they're going to face Calgary, who got off to a slow start. It was Edmonton, but at some point, I mean, they have been the best team. I'm happy for the Calgary Stampeder organization. Dave Dickinson's a great guy, has done a wonderful job. Maybe we want to get a chance to talk to some of these guys this week. We're trying to get a hold of those that are either going to participate, call the game. We'll try to get some of them on because it is our national party. As much as people don't want to admit it, the numbers will be huge for the game now that Toronto's back in it for most of the season, where people in Toronto kind of ambivalent. But that's how the city is. In reality, what Toronto is the greatest example that I can think of in any North American city that is the most bandwagon, it's when it's appropriate to go, when it's exciting to go, when it is the in thing to do. That's what Toronto is, except for the Maple Leafs. This is a Leaf town. Always will be, always has been. It is a Toronto Maple Leaf city. It's not even really a hockey city. It's not hockey. It's Leafs. That's what, I mean, otherwise, people would be banging down the doors to go to Marley games. You'd see a lot of other things going on. There'd be a lot of, even numbers, should Toronto not be in it, they'd still maybe watch other cities in the league. No. It's a Leaf town. And so beyond that, because they're always going to have people go through the turnstiles, they're always going to have people who are going to buy those unbelievably expensive season tickets. I mean, when you see what people spend on going to a Leaf game, if it's 4 people, I would argue, depending on where you sit, it could be a mortgage payment. A mortgage payment.
Yeah, that's fair.
4 people.
Absolutely.
When you can put in concessions, parking, price the tickets, it's a mortgage payment.
And it's it's gross, right?
It is.
when you think of it.
It's crazy that it's that. That's why people always say real fans don't go. I think it's got better a little bit over the years. There's always been a stigma about the Bay Street crowd being the ones that are the only ones who can afford it. But who can afford to go to Leaf games? Like just buying tickets.
You know what it almost is, Mike, and we've seen it in the last number of years with both the Raptors and the Toronto Maple Leafs. The real crowd, the real people, the real fans that probably haven't missed games in years are the ones sitting outside the building looking at the big screen, and they call it Maple Leaf Square or Jurassic Park or Weirdoville or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, Weirdoville. I like that.
You like that?
Yeah.
I just thought of that.
Yeah. Weirdoville. I was like, hey, there's these signs up there as we're cheering for the team. They're calling it Weirdoville. Is it us? Are they talking about us? You mean you with the painted face and the the Darth Vader helmet? Yeah. That's you.
They do have the blue Darth Vader too.
Do they?
Yeah, and every once in a while. Rusty, you've seen the blue Darth Vader hanging around ACC?
Yeah, I think I've seen him around like once or twice.
Can you do that? I mean,
I've gone up
to
him.
The Raider guy to me is the original Darth Vader guy.
I went up to him and I tapped him on the shoulder and I said, "Excuse me, sir. Darth Vader is black in color." And he didn't respond.
He didn't respond.
Yeah, I don't get it. Like, all you have to do is watch one of the 17 movies, and clearly you see Darth Vader is black.
And by the way, I think we can stop making them now. Okay. We got the little trilogy, and they said, "Oh, there's another trilogy. Let's do the trilogy before the trilogy." Just stop it. Stop it.
You don't like them, eh?
No, not now. It's like, I'm Invisible Man. Okay, there's no Invisible Man. They come up with these new characters, and everyone fucking hates them. Everyone hates them. What was that one a couple of years ago that everyone just hated? It was like a cartoon voice, or whatever.
Okay, that was a while ago, and that was Jar Jar Binks.
Jar Jar Binks.
That was a while ago.
After that,
a couple of years ago.
After that, Mr. Lucas, could I talk to you? The Jar Jar Binks. Okay, you're done. You're done. And look at the characters. I don't care about them. Kill them all. Now I'm cheering for the dark. Wherever the dark side is, I'm cheering for them.
See, you know yourself.
I'm cheering for the Raiders now.
Go Raiders.
I'm a Raiders fan, and I think the Darth Vader now is he even in it, or is he like a kid? I know they're going back. What was Darth Vader like when he was in public school? Like, come on, it's gone too far. It's like the Little Rascals, except Darth Vader and I don't know, Yoda.
You're gonna hate me when I go see the new Star Wars.
Oh,
in December.
Dave, no, don't do it. Okay, so. Here's some old school for you. This is crazy. Now that we've talked about the Grey Cup coming up, I've been going to Tiger Cat games in the old Everwin Stadium back in, I believe it was 1972 was the first game I went to.
Okay.
But our good friend Joe Theismann, who we've got to get on, but I've known him for years. He's always come on the show. This is how football used to be played, especially in Everwin. In Everwin Stadium, the sideline was here.
This is dangerous.
And then a solid concrete wall with those concrete bricks were like 10 feet away, maybe not even. And guys used to hammer guys right into the side. So this is old school football. What's going to happen? The Argos actually fake a field goal. Theismann throws a pick. And then Bill Simons, who's a little angry, decides he's going to take out this player the way they used to when men were men. Here, courtesy of the Canadian Football League, is a moment from the Eastern Final. Theismann.
It's a fake.
Don Chevrier.
Theismann intercepted. It's headed for Cranmer. Williams with the ball.
Watch this.
And he is taken out heavily into that wall. Bill Simons quickly helping him up.
Sure he is.
And they call rough play on Bill Simons. Here again we repeat the official's concern about the proximity of that wall and Hamilton to the playing surface.
Watch the run he takes at him.
On the fake field goal attempt, Joe Theismann really didn't fool anybody.
Look at this.
And Williams
He's hit him
this off.
Watch this.
And we have him coming across and being pushed out of bounds into that wall. And again, we had number 23.
That's attempted murder. He should be arrested. Old school football.
Old school.
You're watching rawmike.richards.com either on the website or the dedicated YouTube channel. And I guess we should take a look at some of the action from the NFL. But I got to tell you, Dave, some of it was...
woof. Oh, woof, woof.
As NFL Films would say, the AFC stinkier than an outhouse at a provincial park.
That is stinky.
Yeah, I think. Trust me, that's a sentence right there. You want to be mean to someone? Just go to an outhouse in a provincial park.
Speaking,
that's awful.
Speaking of teams that stunk it up.
Okay,
we have some breaking news this morning.
Oh, good.
This is about
Buffalo's just decided to not be a team anymore. So.
No, that's the breaking news when we're off the air in the 11 o'clock hour. No, this down about 7 minutes ago. The Denver Broncos have fired offensive coordinator Mike McCoy. Bill Musgrave takes over the position. The Broncos' offense has been atrociously bad. I don't know how much you can put on Mike McCoy considering it's Brock Osweiler quarterbacking your team. And previous to that, Trevor Siemian, who started off nicely the first 3-4 games of the year and then went downhill completely. So Bill Musgrave takes over that OC position. That's a second OC to get fired this year. The Cincinnati Bengals fired their offensive coordinator after 2 games earlier this year.
Well, they had to do something, and I think John Elway is one of these guys where he's just not going to hang around and not send a message to that organization, and that message is we are completely unacceptable as a football team. Now, the one thing that I'm sure the defense is probably saying is that, well, it ain't us. But you can only play defense for so long when your team can't move the ball, so maybe not surprising that came down. Games that were closer than I thought, but I guess sometimes the Lions, outside of the friendly confines,
Bears plus 3.5.
When they go on the road, I don't know if you can trust them, and guess what? That's exactly what happened. They just edged the Bears 27-24, but I think what we thought about them, we saw exactly come true on Sunday. I don't think that was a surprise.
No, I don't think that was much of a surprise either. This was going to be a field goal game. We called it earlier. If you had the hook, you got the Bears on 3.5, which was very good value. Bears were leading this game off the top. They actually, no surprise there. Stop me if you've heard this because it's basically happened for the last 2 years, every single game. And speaking of the Lions, we'll talk to Bruce Dobigan about it tomorrow. He's a big Lions fan.
Huge Lions fan.
He's seen this more than anybody else. The Lions will traditionally fall in the first quarter. So if you're ever going quarter betting,
bet against them.
Bet against them in the first quarter. I'd almost go as far as saying bet against them in a half. But first quarter is a lot more safe. Bears got off to a great start but couldn't hang on. Lions win it by 3 points, and you win it on the hook because it was 3.5.
Bortles. Anyone? Bortles?
Bortles.
19-7 over the Browns, but I just don't trust this Jags team. Even, with the record they have right now, so now they sit at 7-3, so it is the AFC, so 7-3 is, really good.
You're going to win that division.
Yeah, you're going to win that division, and I wouldn't trust you in one playoff game against a team that counts. So how can I take a look at them against the Pats or the Steelers or even the Ravens for that matter? I just don't see any consistency with them. Yeah, they beat the Browns, but everyone beats the Browns.
Everybody was. I take Jacksonville over the Ravens. I think Jacksonville's a better team than the Ravens. The Jacksonville Jaguars have a very, very good defense, and they have a very good running back. Period. That's it. That's all.
But it's a fine line, Dave, and I don't know in a playoff game if I really would trust them in that area. Speaking of the Ravens, they take care of the Packers. Hundley is just not a professional quarterback.
No, he isn't. Not in this league, and probably not in the league north of the border.
Yeah, I'm not putting him in the CFL either. I really don't. The Ravens went 23 Cobb, not a surprise.
Yep.
The Buccaneers. Now, look, in terms of gambling, there's a couple of things that could have happened in that last 4 seconds.
This was crazy, eh?
If you took what is considered to be a try bet or a games between 6 points, you were gold. They kick a field goal with 23 seconds left. Even if you're playing the always awful pro line, that's a pro line tie, and that's kind of how I saw that game.
Commercial? That sounds like a commercial.
Yeah, it should be.
The always awful pro line.
Yeah,
okay.
Very, very fair.
Yes.
Not.
Opposite of fair.
And so, with 4 seconds, they kick it off. Then they try the old rugby wing line.
Yep.
They bobble the ball,
yep.
And the Bucks score a touchdown. So even if you had the under, you're going, no problem. Well, you would have won the most amazing over of all time or been crushed by that last touchdown. That's the only thing that mattered in that game. Cutler threw, of the many quarterbacks who threw a lot of interceptions, Cutler was taken out, the concussion protocol. Moore looked better than he did, but my God, that's bad football, Dave.
Moore looked really good, actually, considering that he was mopping up and trying to get this team back in it. It was big-time sadness for Dolphins, and they continue to stink. This team is not very good. It's really surprising that this team would actually be remotely close to 500, and that's exactly what they are. So 1 second, I'm just I'm paying my parking right now, Mike.
No problem.
I see the meter guy out there, and I'm gonna get
Dicks.
Yes,
Dicks. The Vikings and the Rams was going to be a really good game. It was tight for most of it, and then the Vikings just blew it out just in the fourth quarter. They end up winning 24-7, but the Vikings defense holds the Rams to 7 points. Not easy to do because the Rams, when they started that first drive, they go down and score. I think, oh boy, this is going to be tight. Case Keenum, to his credit, is kind of learning how to win in the NFL. And people say, well, no, there were a couple times where he looked like he was not showboating, but he was looking a little cocky for a guy who's been, quite frankly, Case Keenum in the NFL.
And Mike, he's a step away from losing his job.
Yes, of course. So I wouldn't be doing the moonwalk every. He's starting to look now like he wants to keep the job. That's that's how I see it. And for a lot of slights that he gets and a lot of the eye rolling, I got to be honest, I'm pretty impressed with Case Keenum, and I'm kind of happy for the guy because I've always sort of liked him since college.
Yeah, 280 yards passing, 27 of 38, 1 touchdown. Nice running attack, too, because Murray raced for almost 100 yards, and they also got McKinnon rushing for 50, Keenum rushed for 20. So it was a little bit of a committee after him, but man, they actually, you know what, this is hard for me to say, but I think the Vikings are better than the Philadelphia Eagles. I think if they go head-to-head, the Vikings are the better team between those two. And like I said, I'm struggling to at least believe exactly what I'm saying. But if they're going playoff-wise, that Viking defense is phenomenal. I just don't know about that quarterback position. But you know what? If they get that home field advantage, and if somebody has to go to Minnesota, and if the road to the Super Bowl goes through Minnesota, which it's close, but not quite, because Philadelphia has to slip somewhere in the next 5 games. Minnesota's going to be punching their ticket to that eventual New England loss, because New England will probably beat on anybody that they actually play.
I think, as we get to that game, Dave, there is no question, I think, that they're going to win the Super Bowl. New England wins the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and they look good in Mexico City against the Raiders, Mike. Tom Brady was Tom Brady, and man, the Raiders have to be one of the disappointments, in my opinion, of the conference.
I don't know what's going on there. I mean, look, I get that they lost him in the beginning of the season, but for the most part, why are we seeing just a fold? Because he can stop guys too, and look, in the years that they were bad, at least they could stop teams, so I don't think they can do that either.
Nope. That defense stinks. They have one all-star and nobody else, and the offense isn't really firing. Like Derek Carr is not supposed to be throwing for only 237 yards in a game, and he has 2 great receivers that really haven't done anything all year for the most part. Amari Cooper's played 1 good game in 11 weeks.
Yeah, and they need him.
And Marshawn Lynch, I mean, you may as well have stayed retired because you haven't made any contributions to this team this year, and you haven't really done anything of significance for sitting there and pounding like a 150-yard game or making people pay. This has been a colossal flop for the Oakland Raiders this year because I thought they were going to win that division. Not only win the division, but maybe be the team that starts pushing around the New England Patriots. Mike, that hasn't happened at all.
No. Look, this Monday Night Football game, which at one point I thought was going to be just amazing, but you know what the problem I think is going to be? Who's playing in the defensive backfield for Seattle? That league of
nobody
of boom is really they've racked up a lot of injuries. I don't know who's playing tonight.
Yeah, Cam Chancellor out, Richard Sherman out, Earl Thomas out. These are key players that we've seen numerous times in Super Bowls, and when the teams won, when the teams actually lost. We'll have to see. That number is dropped too, because when you look at it, it opened up as Seattle 3.5, 4-point favorites. That number's down to 1, and in some books, that's a pick 'em. And that's saying a lot considering how poorly the Atlanta Falcons travel, because this is not a very good travel.
There's another team you never trust.
And they're crossing the continent to play in a stadium that is very tough to play in. I don't know how I'm calling this game today, but I could almost see an upset happening with the Falcons winning. And I didn't think I'd be saying that.
And it's one of those games, it's going to be goofy. That's the kind of game that I'm not necessarily touching. And you talked briefly about the Eagles, but they roll on the Cowboys. After the first half, you weren't sure if they were going to get it done, but then they put a beating on the Cowboys.
They were losing at the half.
Yeah, that is but, I think these one-dimensional teams that we're seeing, so Aaron Rodgers goes down, your team is terrible.
Yep.
The Cowboys, you lose your running back, you are terrible.
Yep.
There's a bunch of teams in that category, but those are 2 teams that were supposed to be playoff bound.
They're supposed to be very good playoff teams, and not only playoff teams, but teams that would make some noise. There's a lot of talk that, the Dallas Cowboys were supposed to build off of last year's performance where they got 2 super rookies on the offensive side of the ball, and they're going to just keep on getting better, right? It's like, well, suspension, little bit of setback. Like Dak Prescott was pulled from that game yesterday, and for good reason.
Yeah.
He threw 3 picks and really looked lost, not having a key member of the offense. And I guess we know who is the most valuable player on that team.
Well, we saw what Peterman did, and so maybe just Dak felt that, well, if he gets to throw 5.
I could come close.
I can throw 5. I still will never understand that for I don't know what reason that could possibly be, that they thought he would be, because there's another guy that shouldn't be in the league.
No.
And Tyrod Taylor is their best chance at even being competitive, and he doesn't play.
And
but that's when you fire a coach.
Yeah, and entering that game, the Buffalo Bills were the number 1 ranked wild card team. So that, like, if the playoffs started, the Buffalo Bills are in. You don't make the quarterback change there. You make the quarterback change when this team is dumped like 6 straight and you're out of it and you're playing mop up and so forth. You don't make it when Tyrod Taylor gives that team, whether you like him or not, I'm not a big fan, but whether you like him or not, that's your best chance at winning. So that's the guy that should play. 54
points you cough up. And that's when the defense is just getting pounded.
And it's against an LA Charger team that is so hit and miss at times.
They're lost at times. I don't blame them. Like I completely understand if there were guys on that organization who are thinking, do I want to be here? I'm playing in a building where I'm not so sure there are fans.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if they cheer us when because they're kind of not our fans.
No.
It's not our city. It truly isn't. There is an LA team, but it ain't us.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. That's just been a difficult circumstance for everybody involved, and hey, you know what? They put it on themselves, right? They
self-inflicted.
Yeah, they decided that they were going to leave San Diego, one of the greatest cities in America, and whatever, you get what you get.
Apparently, the president of the United States was ripping into the youngest ball. Now, is this the one they're calling? They're not calling him Mello, are they? What are they calling this lad?
I'm not sure. I'm not.
The youngest?
Yes.
The youngest, yeah, LaMelo Ball. Or just
Jello?
Mello.
Was it Jello or Mello?
Jello is the one at UCLA right now.
Oh, Jello's the petty thief.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So he gives one of the weirdest press conferences I've ever seen. I've just never heard these words come from an athlete. I've heard, I'm sorry that I let the team down. I'm sorry that I missed practice. I'm sorry that I dropped the ball. Very rarely do I hear what you're about to hear from an athlete.
I'd like to start off by saying sorry for stealing from the stores in China. I didn't exercise my best judgment, and I was wrong for that.
Right.
I apologize to my family, my coaches, my teammates, and UCLA for letting so many people down.
Mm-hmm.
I also apologize to the people of China for causing them so much trouble. I'm a young man, however, it's not an excuse for making a really stupid decision.
Right.
I don't feel sorry for myself.
I don't.
And I've learned my lesson from this big mistake, and I'm 110% sure that I'll not make a bad decision like this one again.
Oh, good.
Oh, that's okay. That's,
I also like
no, you're not going to. I don't care about the other stuff. He who steal shoe from store find himself called by others asshole.
Where do we get that audio from?
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously. I don't recall Roger Staubach ever having to do that.
No. Never the case.
No. George Brett?
No.
Sorry for stealing the shoes. What? No, George Brett can be sorry for other things. That's not one of them. Going to China, the first thing you think of from one of the more now renowned basketball families whose most famous thing is making shoes.
Yep. You steal shoes.
You go and steal shoes in China. Huh. That's interesting.
Couldn't pick up the phone and ask Big Brother.
You need to steal a shoe.
What about his father, who's clearly better than Michael Jordan?
Well, we all know that to be true.
Yeah, so, I mean, he probably could have helped him out a little bit.
How bizarre. How bizarre. Now, looking at the big game by the Raptors, by the way, winning 191 against
on a roll,
Washington. And you know what? They're scoring some points. Now, they played some pretty good D, holding Washington to under 91 points. That was Phil Gray. I don't know if you got in on that action. I thought Phil did a great job on Friday talking about
is awesome.
Some of the unders that you might want to take a look at. But right now, the Toronto Raptors, who are on a bit of a roll, they're now 7-3 in their last 10. They've won 4 in a row. But it was so interesting as we set up this entire season in the NBA, and all we talked about, and I think for obvious reasons, is just all the players that Cleveland had. LeBron and some really good friends now. And that Kyrie Irving, there was that sort of caveat or that warning that says, be careful what you wish for. You want to be a number one? You want to be the man on your team? Be careful with that. Guess what? That hasn't bothered him. After literally that first game, they have won 15 in a row. Obviously 10-0 in the last 10. Yeah. They are 15-2, and right now and again, we know what the NBA playoffs are like, so don't be throwing parades right now.
Not yet.
But if we're looking at what we thought to be true, which was LeBron's going to play one more year in Cleveland, and then it will be the Los Angeles friends getting together, guys coming from other teams, loading up to be the return of the Lake Show, including LeVar Ball. I got to be honest. This Celtic team might be the team of the future that dominates, where we see the Celtics go for the next 4 or 5 years. If Hayward, even if he does come back, I mean, at this point, that was so bad. I assume he will. I pray that he does. But right now, it's not close. And Kyrie Irving is lights out. He's playing crazy.
Yeah. Now, I'm just wondering if this sustainability will last. Now, I'm not saying they're going to do this pace throughout the regular season, but we've seen the Washington Capitals regular season, and then we've seen the Washington Capitals postseason. Can the Celtics turn it on when they're supposed to turn it on?
Well, and I think Scott Stevens, their coach, Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens. That this is a guy, his experience in Butler, who always looked like when he coached them, like he didn't have his driver's license.
No, he didn't.
Who's the kid on the end?
He's the coach.
Yeah, he's wearing you wearing a jacket. Are you wearing your big boy clothes? He's a solid individual who is used to pressure. I mean, it's a small school that always was played at the highest of levels. I mean, I think he was a great choice. And sometimes it doesn't work that way going from NCAA to pro. There's a big group of not making it kind of guys, but he has. And I look at this Celtic team, and look, you knew the Pistons were going to be better. They've been building this thing for the last couple of years, and they've done it in a different way. The Pistons were famous for ruthless defense, really gritty stuff. Almost, if I can make a comparison, they were the New Jersey Devils of the clutch and grab.
That's actually a good comparison, because they did have a lot of muckers and workers. They had a couple of stars, but for the most part, it's like, oh no, not him. He's wearing. They wear down. It's almost like chipping away a block. Eventually, that block's going to fall, but it's not going to fall in one hit. And you keep on going, and that block's going to get pissed, and all of a sudden. That's what the Pistons did.
That's what they did. They don't now. They score now. In fact, the weakest part of the game, I would suggest, is probably team defense.
Sure.
But they'll figure that out. But for the Raptors, playing a very good ball of late, they have implemented literally a completely new offense. So it took a while, I think, basically for Kyle Lowry to understand that it's just not going to be him and his friend. And, so him and DeRozan sitting there going back and forth, because that drove me nuts too. Mm-hmm. I got a little tired of that. And quite frankly, at some point, it loses some wind. So right now you've got the Pistons at 11-5, the Raptors at 11-5. The Cavs are at 9-7, but let's just wait and have this conversation when we get closer to the spring. Because right now, after 16, 17 games, it makes no sense calling out. But I will say that in terms of consistency, and again, a lot goes back to Brad Stevens, their coach, I like where they're at, and I think they have a lot of talent. I thought they were for sure the second best team in this, but to say that they're still the best team in the Eastern Conference, you're going to have to talk to me sometime in March or April.
And I'm writing this down, and I will be talking to you in March.
Write that down.
1 second, March/April.
By the way, the Brooklyn Nets, congratulations. Yet another year of complete futility. You're horrible.
And no first-round draft pick.
Yeah, nothing.
Why would you want that?
No. I look at their organization and think, do you guys understand how the business world works in the association? Do you realize when you give away something or something comes out, you get something back? Something comes back. Or do you just say, no, we're not into that? And guess what? Players in their twilight, they might be shit.
Yep.
They're getting a big contract because that's how we roll. We are
I wonder if,
terrible.
I wonder if LA needs a third team. Maybe they could move, get out of Brooklyn.
The Bulls are still in that low ebb of that cycle. I can't
Isn't
watch
that
it.
sad,
It
though?
is sad. It's it's funny. Some of those teams that in your life, depending on how old you are. So this is what I always say. It depends on your age group to what you feel comfortable with in terms of in any league, the teams that are involved. That makes you feel like, yeah, things are right. If
Sure.
you're a little bit older, when you see the Blackhawks and the Bruins and the Canadians and the Rangers, the original six, you see those teams in there, you're like, you know what, I like seeing that. But depending on your age group, they're like, I don't need to see, I don't care about that.
Nope.
I take a look at the NBA. Like, I loved it when it was, the Lakers were prominent. I like it when, like, the Knicks. Look how long it's been since the Knicks, where like MSG, and still is to the players. Granted, never say to an NBA player that they don't feel like the main stage is still Madison Square Gardens, and it's the one building, Dave, where I've never been.
Oh, it's a fantastic building. It's funny though because when you actually go into the facility, you have to press the elevator to go up.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah, and then in the same facility, you go down to the actual Penn Station because Penn Station is one of the major hubs of the New York City subway line, and it's like, wait a second, you sub it down there, I don't know, it blows my mind the way that's worked, and I'm so glad they decided renovate, don't tear down, don't build something else. Mind you, in New York City these days, real estate isn't
Where you gonna
really
build?
yeah. Where you gonna exactly you're gonna take away a street to build something? It's like no, there isn't anything, right?
Unless you're Atlanta. If you're in the city of Atlanta, you're like, hey,
build something every 15 years.
It's true. The Georgia Dome wasn't that old.
Oh no,
it was 15 seconds. It was gone.
yeah. Today actually, it happened today.
15 seconds though. It just wiped off the planet.
Yep.
And then what was it, Turner Field?
Yes, that's another thing.
That was only around.
That was made just after Skydome. I'm trying to remember.
It's after Skydome.
Yeah, because Skydome was 89.
Yeah.
89 was the year, and then Camden Yards was a couple years. Yeah, I think they're in the early 90s, and they already wrecked that, and they have a new facility as well.
And a lot of these, it's interesting. We talk about Brooklyn, where it looked like maybe there was going to be an in thing with the Barclays Center, right? And a lot of the reason was because of transit.
Mm-hmm.
That when you're on a stop like that, Dave, in New York City, you never need to have a car. If you're living in New York City, you probably don't have a car because you don't need one. You're going to take transit. But be careful of those that don't want to pay for their ticket on public transit. Now, this, again, you know how we like to show upsetting moments on the show. This is no different. So I want to say this is either from like Northern England or maybe even Scotland. It's kind of hard to figure out, by accent. So here's this kid chirping to the ticket taker on the train, and the kid doesn't want to pay.
Oh, boy.
But it is that part of the world where you've got to respect your elders.
True.
And so Big Daddy, he stops up and says, get off. And they're like, I'm not gonna. Trust me, when a guy like this tells you to pay for your ticket, you probably should have done it.
Off.
Tell him to get off.
No, you're off.
He's telling him to get off, and he won't do
Well,
it.
you're off now. I'll tell you, I'll sit here all night. And I'm getting paid for this, but these folk will start moaning. Not me, you. Why should they pay? They're off. You've no paid at all. You bought a single.
You bought a single.
Today.
This has gone on for a while, by the way.
No.
I forgot.
No.
I forgot.
You need to bother swearing.
Dave, I forgot to pay.
Sit here all night then, Paul.
Sit here all night then.
They'll start complaining, no me.
Well, I'll start complaining too.
And then here comes an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Now, move.
Move.
Move now.
Move now. Oh.
Sorry. Get off the train now.
We'll go, man.
Move.
and he chucks him out the door. The kid keeps trying to come back. Too bad. Too bad, kid. He keeps trying to get back on. It's like 4 attempts to come back on the train.
Sure likes that train.
It keeps coming back. See, tries again. Like,
cheers, big man.
Hear that? That's the best part. That's the best part. Do you hear that? Cheers, big man. Cheers, big man. That's what we need on every transit system in North America. Is you get these. Let's get some tough Scottish guys who won't put up with crap. You got to pay your ticket or you get off. Move.
You know who tries to go on the TTC here in Toronto without paying?
Who?
That guy right there.
Russell, is there anything you want to tell us right now that maybe you haven't said before? Yeah?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I pay every time.
Of course you do.
That's not what I've heard.
I don't think you do anything bad. What's the worst thing you've ever done? Because I don't think it's bad. I think everything you do is good. So what is the worst thing you've done? The worst thing you've done? And maybe something you haven't said before. I know your mom sometimes watches the show. She's in the business. She works at the ACC.
Yep.
What would she be shocked to hear right now?
Worst thing he's done.
Oh, that she doesn't know.
That she doesn't know.
I was going to say when I got caught drinking in high school, but
Ooh.
that was...
That's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Nobody's
I remember that in the guy's bathroom with all the National Geographics and stuff, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What's the worst thing you've done? Have you ever stolen money from her and she doesn't know it? Have you taken money out of the purse?
No, never have.
Come on. Everyone's done that. I still do it. Nana turns around, I'm telling you. Gone.
What's that over there?
Yeah.
What's over there? Yeah, that. Yeah,
Yeah.
can you...
Yeah. Is that W.C. Fields over there? All right. Have you ever because a lot of guys are being hauled up on the carpet right now for inappropriate actions.
That's true.
Have you done something now that you want to admit at Ryerson, for instance?
No, have not done any of that.
So you've never like misused your power that you've had?
Yeah, the enormous power you
have at Ryerson when you're going around telling everybody how you're the technical director of Raw Mike Richards?
The enormous power of a 5'7", 140-pound.
That doesn't matter. You wield a pretty good big stick because of what you are doing here Monday to Friday from 10 to 11.
Yeah, just don't abuse that power. Actually, you know what? Maybe a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't hired an intern by now.
Yeah.
I can imagine what that particular person would look like. Or at least we hope that particular
This
person.
girl looks exactly like Austin Matthews.
Wear this jersey.
Oh, yeah. Say that you're from Arizona. No, I'm not. No, you'd be a good boss. No, you'd be a very good boss, I think.
He might be our boss one day. We better be careful. Just saying.
That is possible. So we've got some interesting guests coming up on the show.
You got it.
Coming up, but let's do this.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
It snowed early this morning here.
You want to go do karate in the garage?
It is November, so I guess yeah. So coming up tomorrow, our very good friend Bruce Dobigan, formerly of CBC News World, the Globe and Mail, Fan 960 in Calgary, and of course he's usually on a panel somewhere. Long time and very good friend, always interested to get his take, not on what's happening out in Western Canada, but certainly as a Detroit Lion fan. Does he feel good? By the way, thanks for subscribing. For those that continue to do that, either go to the website or, as we like to say, you see that little subscribe red banner as you're watching this right now. Just click it, and you're in the group, Dave. And it's always good to be in.
Click, click, click.
Yeah, do it.
Yep, click.